Have you ever longed to become unshakable, a soul untouched by the claws of rejection, criticism, or loss? Have you dreamed of the day when pain would finally loosen its quiet grip, when the ache that lingers behind your smile would dissolve into peace? Perhaps you're weary of trying to appear strong, exhausted from maintaining the image of composure when all you wish for is rest, rest from pretending to be untouchable. Yet, hear this truth, one that few have the courage to speak aloud. As long as you struggle to avoid pain, pain will remain your master. As long as you numb yourself to survive, you become a hostage to every passing word, every careless action, every silence that feels like betrayal. This is not weakness. It is the shared condition of nearly every human heart. The difference is only that some disguise it better than others. Ralph Waldo Emerson once wrote, "What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." What hurts us is not what happens outside. It is the unhealed echo within. The true wound is not caused by the world, but by what the world awakens in us. And until that echo is faced, we remain governed by shadows we refuse to name. You have spent years trying to control the outer world, shaping your words, your tone, your image, hoping that if you are kind enough, strong enough, intelligent enough, no one will harm you. But control is an illusion. The world will continue to move in its own rhythm, indifferent to your rehearsed calm. The moment you stop trying to protect yourself from pain, you begin to free yourself from its tyranny. Freedom does not come from defense. It comes from awareness. Pain has power only when it meets an echo inside you, a memory, a fear, a forgotten part of yourself still waiting to be acknowledged. Emerson would say that the battlefield is not the world, it is the self. What is unseen within rules everything that happens without. You are not truly hurt by others' words. You are touched by the ancient bruise those words awaken. You still suffer because you believe that if you perfect yourself, the world will respond in kind. But the world is not a mirror polished by effort. It is a mirror that shows you where you still tremble. And that trembling, though painful, is sacred. It points toward what must be understood, not escaped. Do you wish to stop suffering? Then stop protecting yourself from it. The mind believes that safety lies in avoidance, but the soul knows that safety lies in truth. To face pain consciously is not to collapse. It is to be reborn through understanding. Every reaction, every burst of anger or despair is a message from within. Emerson taught that the soul becomes, that every experience is an invitation to deeper self-knowledge. The pain you feel is not punishment. It is instruction. It asks you to look at the story you tell yourself when the world fails to please you, and here lies the first law of freedom. What is unconscious rules you. What you do not understand in yourself will direct your life while you imagine you are in control. The world seems hostile only to those who remain strangers to their own depths. You are not what has happened to you. You are what you choose to become from it. But to choose consciously, you must see clearly. Most people live as sleepwalkers. They react, they please, they perform, unaware of the unseen forces shaping their every gesture. They are pushed by emotion, pulled by memory, driven by wounds that have never been brought into the light. They mistake reaction for decision, survival for purpose. Emerson warned against this slavery of habit. We wake and find ourselves on a stair. There are stairs below us, which we seem to have ascended. How we got up, there we do not know. The unexamined self is a house of inherited fears. To awaken is to finally see where each stair leads, to take back authorship of your own becoming. Pain, anger, sadness, they are not enemies. They are signals from the deeper regions of your being. Each feeling you suppress becomes a seed buried alive, waiting for attention. And when ignored, those seeds grow wild. They become anxiety, bitterness, confusion, exhaustion. You think these emotions appear out of nowhere, yet they are the unacknowledged children of your own history. You cannot silence what has never been heard. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. To become unshakable is not to harden. It is to understand. It is to bring light into the dark corridors of the self. The unconscious, Emerson might say, is not a pit to be feared, but a cave filled with unmined gold. Only by descending into it does one return whole. Most people try to avoid that descent. They fear their own depth, mistaking stillness for danger. They distract themselves with noise, with screens, with work, with endless motion. But what you flee will pursue you. Ignored pain changes shape. It reappears as restlessness, as loneliness, as the quiet ache of a life unlived. You cannot outpace your own shadow. You can only turn toward it. The more you resist the truth of your own heart, the more you are ruled by it. Emerson said, "What you are speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say." You may speak of strength and confidence, yet your actions betray your fear. You silence yourself to avoid conflict. You smile when you wish to weep. You agree when you long to refuse, all in the name of peace. But peace, bought by self-betrayal, is not peace. It is postponement. The work, then, is not to become invulnerable, but indivisible. To integrate all that you are, the pain, the pride, the confusion, the beauty, into a single unified awareness. True strength is not the absence of wounds. It is the intimacy with them, is the willingness to say, "This too is me, and I no longer need to hide." When you reach this understanding, no insult can truly wound you. The arrow may strike, but there is no longer a wound for it to open. You may feel pain, but pain no longer owns you. Most think freedom means being untouched by emotion. Emerson knew better. Freedom means being touched by everything and mastered by nothing. You can walk through betrayal without bitterness, through loss without despair, through criticism without collapse, not because you are numb, but because you are whole. Those who seek to avoid pain only deepen it. They build walls, wear masks, and call it strength. They say, "I don't care anymore," even as their spirit quietly bleeds. But suppression is not mastery. The heart that refuses to feel becomes its own prison. You do not grow untouchable by closing off from life. You grow untouchable by opening so completely that nothing external can shake the truth of who you are. True courage is not to resist emotion, but to stand within it, to allow fear, anger, grief, and love to move through you without breaking your core. And here Emerson's wisdom burns like flame. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Decide, then to no longer be ruled by avoidance. Decide to meet your own soul. Integration, not resistance, is the birth of power. When you bring the dark into the light, when you accept every facet of your being, your reactions lose their chains. You begin to observe instead of react, to choose instead of obey. This is the quiet threshold where the untouchable self is born. To know yourself is to end the tyranny of external control. To understand your own motives is to break the spell of manipulation. The more deeply you know your wounds, the fewer weapons others can use against you. Individuation, as Emerson would have called it in spirit if not in name, is the process by which you become one with yourself. Not what the crowd demands, not what the world rewards, but what your own inner nature reveals. It is not a quest for perfection, but for wholeness. To accept both the noble and the flawed, the shadow and the light. To realize that the cracks in your being are not shameful, they are where the light enters. Avoidance is fragility disguised as strength. Acceptance is power disguised as humility. You do not need to become a better person. You need to become an honest one. The moment you look directly at your pain, without judgment or fear, it begins to transform. What once seemed unbearable becomes a teacher. What once ruled you becomes your servant. Pain loses its sting when it is met with awareness. For awareness is the fire that consumes illusion. This is the birth of true freedom, not the freedom from suffering, but the freedom within it. It takes courage to walk this path. The courage to feel what you have long silenced. The courage to meet yourself as you are, not as you appear. The courage to let go of the image of strength that was never real to begin with. But remember, in every tear lies truth. In every ache lies awakening. The wound, once faced, becomes a window. Suffering, when welcomed with awareness, becomes sacred. It strips you of the unnecessary and leaves you with essence. It takes from you what is false and gives you what is real. You are not meant to escape life. You are meant to enter it fully, to embrace its pain, its joy, its uncertainty, and to stand unmoved within its motion. So, let us begin this deeper journey, not to shield yourself from the world, but to meet it as it is. The next step lies within, descending from reaction to consciousness, from protection to power. You were taught to despise pain, to treat it as an intruder, as evidence of failure. Since childhood, you've been told that strength means never faltering, that crying is weakness, that feeling too deeply is dangerous. So you began to run, to hide behind smiles, to armor your soul in indifference. But the more you ran from pain, the closer it followed. It changed its form, from grief to anxiety, from anxiety to anger, from anger to numbness, until you no longer recognized its face. Ignored pain does not die. It disguises itself. It digs tunnels beneath your daily life, and one day, without warning, everything collapses. The mind breaks down, the heart grows cold, and you wonder why peace feels so far away. Ralph Waldo Emerson would tell you, pain is not an enemy, it is an emissary, the soul's messenger carrying truths you have refused to hear. When sorrow knocks, it comes not to destroy you, but to awaken what sleeps. He once said, the only way out is through. To reject pain is to reject the wisdom it brings. Suffering in this light becomes sacred. It is the alchemy through which falsehood is burned away. When the old life no longer fits, pain arrives to tear the fabric so that a truer life may breathe. You were never meant to stay comfortable. You were meant to become conscious. Emerson often spoke of the soul's law, that every experience carries the seed of instruction. Even despair has purpose. A man is what he thinks about all day long, he said. If your thoughts circle pain, let them circle it with awareness, not resistance. Pain is not your enemy. Unconscious pain is look closely at your suffering. Beneath its roar, something whispers. The anguish you feel when rejected, the bitterness after betrayal, the hollow ache of loss, all of it points inward. It says, there is still something within you that you do not yet understand. The world merely mirrors that unseen wound. The battle is not outside. It is not against circumstance or cruelty. The battle is for consciousness, for the courage to see clearly what you have long refused to see. You were taught that maturity meant control, the power to shape events, to predict outcomes, to prevent hurt. But control is not strength. It is fear in disguise. It tightens the mind and closes the heart. Emerson's wisdom cuts deeper. He who would gather immortal palms must not be hindered by the name of goodness, but must explore if it be goodness. True strength is not resistance to pain, but intimacy with it. The knowing that whatever happens, your center remains. Every soul must cross its own dark valley. The wise do not avoid the descent. They walk willingly into it, for they know that what is buried must be uncovered before it can be transformed. The wound you fear to touch is the place where healing waits. When pain arrives, do not silence it. Invite it to speak. As Emerson might phrase it, stand guard at the portals of your senses, but do not close the door to your own voice. Ask your suffering, what are you trying to show me? For pain, when faced, loses its teeth. It stops devouring and starts teaching. It is not pain itself that breaks us. It is the refusal to learn from it. You suffer because part of you resists change while another part longs for it. Your pain is the friction between the two. There is something within you that demands evolution, but the ego, loyal to the old, fights to remain. And so, within that inner war, tension grows until it spills into the body as illness, into the mind as anxiety, into the spirit as despair. But do not despair. This is the threshold. Growth hurts not because you are weak, but because you are shedding what is false. Let the old beliefs die. Let the masks crack. Let the pretenses fall. Each ending is a preparation for rebirth. Emerson saw this truth in nature, that every season of decay carries within it the seed of renewal. The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. In the same way, your suffering carries within it the blueprint of your transformation. When your certainties crumble, when you are stripped bare, what remains is what is real. Suffering's purpose is to reveal what cannot be taken from you. It brings you to your knees before the only force that can set you free, yourself. This is the essence of what Emerson called self-reliance. Not arrogance, not isolation, but the courage to stand in the full light of your own being, neither ashamed of your darkness nor addicted to your brightness. You do not conquer pain by fighting it. You transcend it by understanding it. To suffer consciously is to cooperate with your own evolution. Every sorrow, every rejection, every loss becomes an opportunity to know yourself more completely. And this is where true invulnerability begins. You do not become untouchable by hiding your sensitivity. You become untouchable by embracing it so completely that nothing external can use it against you. People often ask, "How do I stop caring?" Emerson would say, "You don't. You care fully, but you care from clarity, not from compulsion. You feel deeply, but you are no longer drowned by what you feel. The self-aware soul remains open, but unbroken. Pain enters, teaches, and leaves, and the soul stays standing. To reach that state, you must enter what Emerson called the infinitude of the private man. This means looking inward so honestly that every lie, every mask, every fear loses its claim on you. It is not a process of perfection. It is a process of integration. You will discover that strength does not come from being impenetrable, but from being transparent to truth. Nothing can harm the man who does not hide from himself. This work requires courage, the courage to face loneliness, to outgrow old versions of yourself, to release people who cannot walk beside you on this new path, because few will follow. Most are still trapped in surface living, in the comfort of denial. But do not confuse solitude with abandonment. When you walk alone on the path of self-understanding, you are never without company. You are accompanied by truth, and that is the highest companionship of all. There will be moments when the silence feels unbearable, when you look around and see how easily others escape into distraction, and you will wonder, why must I go so deep? But the answer will come quietly, because you have chosen freedom over illusion. Freedom demands the dismantling of what once defined you. It requires the death of the false self, what Emerson called the shadow of the soul. To step into truth, you must first endure the unraveling of everything that is not real. This unraveling feels like loss. It feels like the burning of identity, but it is actually the purification of consciousness. You are not losing yourself. You are losing the costume you mistook for yourself. As you walk deeper into awareness, the world begins to change around you. People may drift away. Some will not recognize you anymore. Others will feel threatened by your stillness. They will try to pull you back into old patterns, not out of malice, but because your freedom reminds them of their own chains. Do not fight them. Simply bless them in silence and keep walking. To become whole, you must accept the price of separation. The path of awakening is narrow because few dare to leave the familiar. Emerson said, "Whoso would be a man must be a nonconformist." To think for yourself is to outgrow the need for agreement. Loneliness will visit, but it will not stay. In its place comes solitude, the gentle companion of the awakened. Solitude is not emptiness. It is fullness unshared. And from solitude arises clarity, the only true shield there is. It is not strength that protects you. It is understanding. When you see through things, they cannot control you. When you see into people, their masks fall away. When you see into yourself, your fears dissolve. Consciousness becomes your armor. Not the kind forged of hardness, but of transparency. Everything passes through you, but nothing penetrates. You still feel, but you no longer fracture. You still love, but you no longer lose yourself in the loving. This is what it means to be untouchable, not that nothing can reach you, but that everything passes through you without leaving a scar. In this new awareness, life becomes spacious again. You no longer waste energy resisting what is. You begin to trust that every experience, even pain, serves your growth. You start to live from the center rather than from reaction. The storms still come, but you have built your house upon the rock. Now you stand at the final threshold, the crossing from awareness into peace. You have walked through your shadows, faced your own illusions, and watched old versions of yourself dissolve like mist. But awakening is not an event, it is a practice. Each day offers a new opportunity to remember what you have learned, to live from the center you have discovered. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, "To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment." And this, truly, is the summit of the inner journey, to live from self-knowledge so complete that nothing outside can dictate who you are. The world will continue to speak its language of comparison and control. People will still wound and disappoint. Life will still shift and surprise. But you will not be moved in the old ways, because you now understand the source of all disturbance lies not in what happens, but in the interpretation your mind weaves around it. Clarity does not erase pain, it transforms it. You still feel, but you no longer drown. You still experience loss, but it no longer empties you. The power of pain to define you has ended. True emotional immunity is not the numbness of a closed heart. It is the calm of an awakened one. It is not coldness, but lucidity, a state in which you see clearly enough that the chaos of others cannot infect your peace. Emerson called this state the sovereign self, the soul so aligned with its own truth that every external noise becomes background, music to its inner melody. And what a relief that is, to live without needing to armor yourself, to stop rehearsing defenses for every imagined blow. You no longer hide behind hardness because you no longer confuse vulnerability with weakness. You no longer fear feeling deeply because depth no longer threatens to drown you. You have learned to swim in your own waters. There is a quiet kind of power in this. When the storms of life rise, you do not fight the wind. You lean into it, knowing that every gust refines your balance. You no longer try to control outcomes. You participate in them consciously. You move through the world like a calm fire, shaping and illuminating, but never burning yourself out. This is the essence of Emerson's teaching. Life is not something to be mastered. It is something to be harmonized with. When you live from awareness, the same waves that once threw you into despair now carry you forward. Do not mistake this peace for passivity. Awareness is the most dynamic state of all. It responds with intelligence instead of impulse, with wisdom instead of fear. It is action refined by understanding. You will still be tested, not by life's cruelty, but by its invitation. Every difficult person, every challenge, every silence that once frightened you will now arrive as a teacher. The question will no longer be, why is this happening to me? But what is this showing me? This shift in perspective marks the difference between bondage and freedom. Bondage says, I must protect myself from life. Freedom says, I will meet life as it is. The first creates fear. The second creates mastery. Emerson taught that what lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us. You now understand this not as poetry, but as fact. The world has lost its power to define your worth because you have found that worth inside yourself. There will still be moments when the old patterns call you back, when anger tempts you, or despair whispers, or the urge to please reawakens. Do not condemn yourself for this. Growth is not linear, it spirals. You will meet old lessons again at higher levels of awareness, but each time your return will be gentler, your vision clearer. You will remember that your peace does not depend on perfect circumstances, but on perfect attention. Do not forget, the goal is not to never feel pain again. The goal is to know pain so well that it no longer controls your life. The one who can sit with pain without fear becomes untouchable. And here lies the last great truth, the paradox of awakening. To be untouchable is not to be apart from life, but to be so fully present in it that life cannot overwhelm you. You are no longer a fragment tossed by events. You are the whole ocean, containing waves and calm alike. You will notice how people respond differently to you now. Some will be drawn to your steadiness. Others will be unsettled by it. Those who fed on your old instability will fade away, unable to manipulate what they can no longer move. The ones who remain will meet you as equals, not seeking to use you, but to share in the quiet power of your presence. Do not chase understanding. Do not explain your peace. Let it speak in your silence. The world will catch up in its own time. From now on, you do not need to control how others see you. Their perception is their own education. You are no longer responsible for anyone's comfort, but your own authenticity. The consciousness you have gained is your true armor. Invisible, weightless, indestructible. It does not separate you from the world. It connects you to it through truth. You will notice that even small annoyances, a harsh word, a rejection, a delay, no longer pierce as they once did. It is not that life has grown kinder, but that your awareness has grown vast enough to hold everything without breaking. Clarity makes you porous to life without being wounded by it. It turns every experience into information, not injury. You stop taking things personally because you understand that most of what people do is a reflection of their own inner weather, not a judgment on you. And so you begin to live freely. You speak honestly without fear. You walk lightly without apology. You offer love without needing it returned. You live no longer from protection, but from presence. In this stillness, there is power. In this awareness, there is peace. In this freedom, there is the quiet joy of being alive, not perfect, not unfeeling, but whole. To those still caught in reaction, you will seem mysterious. They will not understand how you stay calm amid conflict, how you forgive without forgetting, how you remain compassionate without becoming consumed. But you will know the secret. You have stopped seeking control, and in doing so, have found mastery. You are now what Emerson called the representative man, one who stands in harmony with the divine law of his own soul. You no longer chase meaning, you emanate it. You no longer seek validation, you embody truth. Remember always, awakening is not an end, but a rhythm. Each day asks for your participation. Each moment is a chance to return to clarity. So when pain comes again, and it will, greet it as an old companion. Sit with it, listen to what it has to say, and when its message is delivered, let it pass. Do not cling, do not curse. Bless it for reminding you that you are alive. This is not spiritual armor. It is spiritual openness. The one who accepts everything is wounded by nothing. And so, my friend, the circle closes where it began. You wished to be unshakable, and now you understand that to be unshakable is not to be unmoved, but to be deeply rooted. The winds still blow, but you no longer break. The storms come, but they find no weakness in the tree that has learned to bend. Let this be your quiet vow, to live awake, to live inwardly free, to live in truth even when truth costs comfort. The work ahead is not to fortify yourself, but to remember yourself, to return again and again to that inner ground where no insult can reach, no loss can destroy, no fear can rule. When you live from that place, you will find that even the smallest act, a breath, a word, a gaze, carries the weight of eternity. You will no longer chase peace, you will be peace. Emerson would call this the triumph of the spirit, not victory over the world, but victory within it. The realization that you were never meant to escape life, only to see it clearly. Walk gently then. Speak softly. Stand firm. The journey is not over. It is only beginning in the direction of truth. You are no longer surviving. You are awake.